my name is Lauren, and I wanted to do a follow-up post video blog vlog about a project that I have in progress. It's progressing in a few different directions, but one of my favorite ones is the WordPress realm. This is this screen we're looking at dailydevhabit.com in the WordPress admin dashboard. This is a custom plugin that I started building a while ago. Back in December, I guess. Looks like the last time I really touched this was February 6th. I had provided two integration options. One was for Jira and one was for Trello. So this one is set up to use Jira, and I just wanted to show this, like how this works. So you have the Jira bridge right here, so we could add Jira settings. Pretty simple. You've got the domain for where your Jira tickets are, the account holder's email address, and the API token. So that comes from Jira. If we were to click this, we could get an idea of what's available. So this one, I guess. Oh, I know what that was. It's been a while since I since I worked with this. Now I remember putting this together. So you want to have options of where you're sending the card. So that's what this is. So we want to be able to send it to either CMP, Daily Dev Habit, or Development Request. So this should save those three now. Now it's a little more obvious what's going on. So now that we have that saved, if we go here and we want to send this to Jira, I'm pretty sure my token is good until the end of the month. So this should still work. So now we should have those three options: CMP, Kanban for the daily dev, and the request. So we'll do this, and then we have to say what we're doing. We'll just call it a bug for now. See if this goes through. Okay, so we got a card and we can check that in Jira directly. Reload, or maybe it goes somewhere else. 25. I don't think it reloads in real time. But we're looking for 41. There it is. So this is the one that we just sent. So we know that that is already working. Now, between February and now, so this is like 2 months, I've been working on a combination of projects, and one of them we could see in Notion. Without getting into too much detail here, the purpose of this whole thing was to create storage for notes about development, friction, blockers, progress, feature addition, incident, a few different options on the kind of things that we would want to log. So the first iteration of this was just for a human. Okay, the first version was set up primarily for WordPress. That's what the Daily Dev Habit site is actually about. It's about the plugin that it saves notes for you, and you could save them in a markdown file somewhere on your system. You could send to a GitHub folder. You could send to cloud storage, which is part of what I built, which we could see those options if we go back here. So there's actually a couple of plugins on here. Daily Dev Habit here. If we look at the settings, we can see we've got the cloud option and the GitHub self-hosted. We can change all of these questions if we want, and the idea is, after you've overcome some obstacle, or if you hit some obstacle that you can't overcome, come talk about it in this form, this web form. So you go through all the questions and then send the data to the storage, not on WordPress, somewhere else. Because if you combine that with data coming from the CLI, this side, then you have two streams of data multi-surface, and they represent minimum two surfaces in the development process. So if you're a vibe coder, if you're a solo developer and you work on things over the weekend or as you have time and you feel like I really am losing momentum along the way, this system was basically meant to keep you on track. This version 1 puts a lot of the problem in the developer's lap, and it kind of bootstraps your skills, because when you start off doing this on your own, you're gonna have to troubleshoot a lot of things as you set this up. I mean, anyone can pick their own components and put their own system together, and it would probably do something similar to what I have here. So version 1 was very human-centered. I would get help from an agent, primarily in the chat, and then that would be reflected in what came through here and here, through the terminal and through the WordPress front end, which is really kind of like the back end. The value in that was having to stop and think about some of the things that I was doing, and then creating a collection over time. So after several rounds of data coming in, this Notion contest recently was an opportunity to put a face on some of that data. It's visible in Railway, but not, you can't really sort it. You can't edit it if you needed to edit it. It's just a tougher view. And even this, this is not really meant for a human to read. This is meant for an agent to read. That's why we've got tags and selects. We've got structured data. So everything is labeled. These statements here about decision, rationale, and friction, they're intentionally short. Intentionally short so that the development process doesn't get bogged down with essay writing. They're just little things that happen. One of the primary benefits and why I was motivated to do this was because I don't get a lot of feedback on personal projects. Like, I'm my own boss. I don't have another senior developer over me to say, maybe you should consider doing it this way. So this is what that system provides. It's development oversight through a few different agents, and most recently adding an agent to help with the development. So I've gone through the V1 rigors on my own. V2 is about taking what I learned in V1, handing it over to an agent and say, all right, now it's your turn. See how far you can get with this. So V1, the face primarily on Notion. V2, the face moves a little bit over to EmDash. Still a little funky, some bugs to work out, but most of these notes here are actually coming from the agent, and all these notes have to do with setting up an identical system to what the human would use, but now it's for an agent. And once that system was set up, I could use that to give it some work to do. So now it's got to use that logging system the same way I did to reveal weaknesses in my own understanding, or like significant package manager issues or dependencies that have become toxic. And there's a lot of different things you could log. But it is also kind of validating to see an agent hit some of the same roadblocks that a human would. So with this dashboard in place, gives us some visibility into what the agent is doing. It's not just going rogue, but now we've given it its first actual task in WordPress, and that was to add your own button. So now we can send to agent. So the settings for the agent were added. This looks good. I asked if I needed a token, and it said I should be able to send the request with no token. So that is what I booted up the OBS Studio to talk about. So we want to try to send one of these to the agent. Note from project notes dashboard global context. Let's try this one. Agent error, curl error 7, failed to connect to localhost port 3001 after 0. Okay. So now we just have to go back here and say you did pretty good, but we still have some problems. So that's the whole loop pretty much, and we'll just go over this until the agent gets it right, the same way I would if it were me trying to figure something out. But now I get to observe from a different POV. Sometimes it's hard to read these, but I'll try. I'm going to diagnose this as a networking path issue between your WordPress container and the agent on port 3001. Then patch the plugin so localhost works reliably with a safe fallback. I confirm the orchestration guidance. Next, I'll verify service health and container networking to pinpoint why WordPress can't reach localhost 3001. WordPress runs in Docker, so localhost inside that container is not your host machine. This has come up before. I'll patch this in 2 places, container host mapping and an automatic URL fallback in the Ajax sender. I've identified the exact cause. WordPress is inside Docker, so localhost points to the container itself. Alright, that's pretty much saying the same thing. Do this. Patches in place. Next, I'm validating syntax, and I'll give you the exact one command container restart needed for the new host mapping to take effect. Connectivity is now verified. From inside the WordPress container, I'll commit this fix on your feature branch so it's ready to push test. This right here, node scripts agent report JS, scope, status, message, tags. This is what it's required to do every time it makes a change, and that's what we see on the EmDash dashboard. Okay, it looks like the problem was fixed, and I didn't do anything. I just said, here's what the problem is, and let's see if it got it right this time. I'll just send this. Number 3. Okay, now let's see if we can view it in, oh, I'm already on that tab. View it in the dashboard. Alrighty. Do we get tasks? Do we get, oh, cool. Front end note from sample page. That's it. These are the tests that it sent itself. This layout is kind of terrible, but this is pretty impressive. I mean, this took less than an hour, maybe like 30 minutes, and most of the time was me talking through the video part. Like, that was the biggest time sink so far. So I'd say that's a pretty good solid run. We can watch one more. Can we sync one more? We can probably sync several of them. Added note from pages view and admin dashboard. Actually, let's send like a real one. Well, something with some more context. Test note to agent can delete, no task needed. Even though I'm going to flag this as an open task. Save it. There it is. And we'll send it to the queue. And then remember that we're on this one already. Reload. Test note to agent, can delete, no task needed. Pretty cool, right? So we did actually have an incident earlier. Agent runaway iteration detected and paused by user. So that's the first time in using Copilot that I got a message in VS Code that said, hey, this agent's been trying to figure this out for a while and it's not really getting anywhere. So I had to say, okay, go ahead and pause. So it stopped doing what it was doing and reverted the code. It's only happened one time. So once that did happen, I was like, all right, I need you to write a report about that. And then it suggested, well, let's add incident to our scope so that we can single these incidents out, filter them out when we're looking, at a large volume of notes. I mean, we can see how long we've been working on this. It only goes back to today, 4 or 5, 4 or 6. This clock is a little off. So this is like one day's worth of notes. It would take me as a human probably 3 or 4 days to accumulate this many notes, and that's with just only working on projects in this system. Like take a day off work and just do this. Anyway, it's a pretty sweet victory to share. I've got my little agent task queued up. I better go let it know that it doesn't actually have to do any work for those. Yeah, cool. Well, thanks, and see you soon, because this stuff, it's just moving so fast. I definitely have time to slow down and explain some of it and how it works, but I am very much looking forward to upgrading this experience. And just as a little backstory, the idea here is, if you're working in WordPress and maybe there's some custom block feature that has become buggy or exhibiting unusual behavior, and you want to come here and say something. This custom block is not acting right. So now we've added that note to the block, and this is not something that I've created. This came out with I think 6.9.1, this feature. I got really excited about it, and I was like, okay, well, where do I go see all the notes all together? That's the part that is not supplied natively. So that's the part that I built under project notes. So this is where you could see all of the notes from all of the pages, or you can add notes to backend. Like if I wanted to add a note about daily dev habit, let's say the form wasn't working. Now, we're not going to mess with that because it's not actually broken. The journal form is not submitting. And then if we go to view page, this shows us which one it is. This guy right here. Page equals DDH devlog. So that would tell the agent pretty much everything it needs to know. And I don't want to send that because it's not true, and I would have it doing, wild goose chasing, and I'm going to try to avoid that. Okay, that is officially the end of that quick little demo. Pretty excited about it. Hope you can tell.